Hi, this is Mike Taylor, and I am going to talk to you a little bit about my piece Airplay from the Radical Turf compilation Hello Future. Um, the concept behind the piece Airplay was twofold. One, I wanted to do something with live radio signals, and the other was I wanted to create a piece that didn't involve any sort of drum machine or drum samples or drum looping or any of those traditional ways that people generally create beat-oriented electronic music. So what I did was I decided to create my own little piece of software in MSP, and that's what you're looking at right here, and I'm going to explain the parts of this and how it works. And instead of using a drum machine, I decided to create an enveloping program that would emulate the types of percussive sounds that that sound similar to drums or percussion. And the only input that I used for this piece was basically a live AM/FM radio, which I sweeped through different frequencies. Most of the time it was detuned and just pushing out the typical static noise that comes between channels. Occasionally it would pass over a radio broadcast, and there would be a short period of, of radio signal that was understandable, but as you'll see here in a minute, the way I ran it through the process, it pretty much obscured all of the information. So let me quickly show you a flow chart of how this process works. Okay, so the original controller I used, or the original program I used for this, had 4 sections, and each section followed this type of setup here. You have your audio input, which was the radio, and it went through a pitch shift and delay section, and that was provided by the scrub object here, which is from the I believe it's from the percolate object family, if you know about that. I'll put some links under the post so you can find this information on the web. So the audio signal goes through a pitch shift and delay. This allowed me to shift the radio signal either up in pitch or down in pitch, and put a little bit of delay just to kind of color the sound. The other part of the system was there's a tempo control, and you can see this large knob here. It allows me to set the tempo for the piece, and a 16-step trigger, which is basically just like any type of 16-step controllers that you might find on some hardware in some software programs. So it would loop through these 16 steps, and each channel could be either on. Each one of the 16 beats could either be on or off. So, and then there's 4 of those, and you can see. So you could create kind of like an abstract percussive beat, and then that trigger. What that trigger was doing was triggering a amplitude envelope that the radio signal was passing through. So the amplitude envelopes I used were very similar to this shape because I wanted to emulate sort of a percussive sound. So it has a very fast attack and a pretty fast decay, and then it sort of trails off in the with a little bit of slow decay here towards back to 0. And each one of these envelopes was triggered as it stepped through the 16-step sequencer. Let me close this. Okay, so if you look here at the max patch, I'll explain a little bit about what these objects are. The first one here is this is the ADC. This is the analog to digital converter. This just lets me bring in the audio signal. These 2 devices here are audio level meters, so I can make sure that the signal is never peaking out, going into the red. Then I have the tempo here to control the speed. I generally, for Airplay, I just set the tempo. I believe it was 110 beats per minute. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think it was 110 beats, somewhere around there. So then, and then of course, you have the 16-step 4-channel sequencer. I can turn on each one to create different rhythm patterns. And then here is the delay and pitch shifting section. So the signal will pass through here, and then it'll be delayed and pitch shift. So I had 4 separate delay and pitch shift sections, so I could break the signal into 4 separate timbres. And then each one of those goes through its own envelope, and there you go. So just this simple patch here creates a very sort of percussion emulation, and that's the basis for the piece Airplay. So if you're interested in hearing it, it's available on the Hello Future compilation from Radical Turf Records. You can find it at radicalturf.com. You can also find it at miketaylor.com, and it's available at CdBaby and iTunes if you want to purchase it. And if you have any questions, just let me know. Thanks.